session.
I do want to welcome everyone and thank you all very much for giving up part of your Saturday morning to attend this Midwest Shape Midwest District Future Professionals virtual gathering. Just for everyone's information, my name is Mark Fulmer. I'm the district director for Midwest, and I do want to recognize a few people that are on here right now. First of all, the advisors to our future professional group, Rhonda, who is a professor at Shepherd University and also a past president for Midwest District. And then Taylor Olson, who's on. She has for 2 years served as the president for Midwest District for the Future Professional Group and is now serving on our board, our Leadership Council board. And Ann is not on yet, but Ann Hockett, who is our current Midwest District President elect, is also an advisor to the team. And I do see Andrew has popped in. Andrew Eberline is the past president for Midwest District. So I just want to recognize those individuals and thank them all very much for being here. Becky, to my right, also serves on the board and is helping us out with that technology piece as we go through this session. Now, I want to make sure everyone understands, we mentioned the recording. During this session, if you have any questions, please feel free to post them in the chat. We'll be monitoring that. And if we feel that the question is important enough to jump in with that, we will do so. Otherwise, there will also be an opportunity for Q&A at the end. So I would like to just, before I officially turn it over, let everyone know Ashton Hand is our current Midwest District Future Professional President, and he is going to share with us his passion on unified sports. And so, and yeah, we do have an opportunity. We have time. So why don't we just go around the group here and let everyone introduce themselves. I'll start with Noah. Just where you're from and what you teach or what you want to teach. Yeah, that's good.
Yeah, hi everyone. Noah Toma from Olmsted Falls, Ohio, small little town, 30 minutes outside Cleveland. I teach at Brecksville Broadview Heights Middle School. I teach health, physical education, and life skills. So just excited to be here and learn more about unified sports.
Thank you. Lisa.
Hi, everyone. Lisa Paulson. I am faculty at the University of Minnesota, Duluth, but I live in your district, but I work in Central District. So in a nutshell, I've started Unified a few different times, once in the K-12, and this is my fourth time starting it at the university level. And we're an official club at Minnesota Duluth in week 1 already, as of, I think, 2 days ago. So I've got like 10 members, but always great to hear from future professionals. So thanks for what you're doing.
Appreciate you joining us. Kyle. Maybe. Luke. We'll jump to Luke. Oh, there's Kyle.
Hello.
Nope, there's Luke.
Oh,
sorry. Thank you.
My name is Luke Kaiser. I am a junior at Grand Valley State University in Allendale. That is in West Michigan. And I'm studying health and physical education, K through 12.
Nice. Thanks for joining us. We'll go to Gail, who just joined us. Appreciate that, Gail. We're just doing quick introductions.
Hi, I'm Gail Hardig. I've met lots of you on this call, and I'm newly retired, and I'm working with student teachers at Illinois State University, where Andrew works, and super excited to learn from everyone.
Nice. Thank you very much. Well, Ashton, if you're ready to go, we want to hear about your passion and unified sports.
I'm ready. I'll share my screen real quick and then I'll get started. So everyone can see my screen. Okay, right? Okay, so here's my presentation. It is titled How to Host a Student-Led Unified Sports Event, but I think that the main purpose has became more to just give a general basis on what unified sports is and to share my personal experience with it. If you would like to start your own unified sports program, though, um, at the end, I will have some contact information so that you can reach out to me so that I can provide you with all the resources that we have. It would be really hard to go step by step in this presentation. So if you are genuinely interested in starting something or maybe taking something from what we do and putting it into your own program, then please reach out to me. Um, I would definitely like to work with all of you. We have folders of forms and all kinds of things that would help get started. So a little bit about me. I grew up in Canton, Illinois. It's a very rural place. I think that's important because a lot of people in rural communities, they don't really have a genuine understanding and um they don't have a whole lot of experience with people with intellectual disabilities. So I think for communities like my hometown, it's really important to have things like unified sports. We had Special Olympics in our town, and it's really big. They have a pretty big team. I think one of the biggest in the areas, and there's several kids that I went to school with who felt very accomplished and very welcome by those experiences. I'm a senior at WIU. I double major in K through 12 physical education and Spanish foreign language culture. I am the current Shape America Midwest District future professional president representative. I'm the current president of the physical education major club at WIU, and I'm also the current, that is wrong, or yeah, that is right. I am the current intramural sports club president, and I'm the former intramural. I messed it up. I don't know why it says intramural sports club. It should say Unified Sports Club president. And I will not read all this, but I'm very passionate about advocating and professional development. I love going to the state conference. I recently went to best practices, and I like going to Shape Up, where we advocate in the Capitol for physical education, and those experiences are some of my favorites I've ever had. Um, so what is unified sports? In unified sports, players with intellectual disabilities are referred to as athletes. That's what I will mostly be referring to them as in this presentation. And the players who are in Gen Ed are called partners or peer buddies when we're referring to unified physical education. Typically, in unified physical education, the students in Gen Ed will be paired with a student with an intellectual disability, and they will be have one-on-one experiences for the whole semester. And so a lot of schools will bring their peer buddies with the um, athletes so that they can compete together. And that is the ideal way for that to happen. It groups athletes and partners together for competition and training. It's a more authentic experience because they have coaches, they have referees, they have everything that um, a normal sports team would have. Typically, these teams meet as often as weekly for practice or competition. Sometimes it's even more, just to make sure that they keep up that authentic experience that everyone needs to really feel like they are part of a team sport. Everyone has their own role to play. That goes for not only partners, but it also goes for the athletes themselves. They do what they are able to do at our events. If someone is too shy, if they don't feel like they're good enough at sports or whatever, then we can have photographers, we can have greeters, we can have all those things to make sure that someone has a role to play if it's the athletes or the partners. They've been sanctioned by Special Olympics since 1989. I think that unified sports might have started right before that, but they are sanctioned by the Special Olympics since then. And a statistic that I found on the Special Olympics website, I believe, is that there's a 36% decrease in participation in unified sports. And I think that's very alarming. And that's one of the reasons why I'm trying to advocate for this is because we need more people to be involved. That decrease is accounting for both athletes and partners. I believe the partner decrease was 38% and the athlete decrease was about 34%, something in that range. So that's pretty significant. And I am honestly not sure how much that has went up, but I believe it has probably improved because this is a pretty popular subject now. There are three unified sports models. I think that this was important to share to give a better understanding of what unified is in general. And I have two pictures right here. The picture on the bottom is actually adults with intellectual disabilities, and the picture on the top is from our main event, the Unified Sports Club. They're all making silly faces. It might be hard to see, but you can see my professor over here on the right sticking out his tongue. I thought that was a great picture. It makes me laugh. So the recreational model, athletes and partners come together for casual sport. Typically, it will not be team sports. It's leisure things like a popular one would be like disc golf, where the main focus is that they are just moving and they have a very direct social experience with their peers. Age and ability level does not matter for that. There will be all kinds of mixed ages. They could be 20 years old playing with 60-year-old athletes. It doesn't matter, but in the other models, it does. In the sports player development model, which is probably the most common model, is that players are typically close in age and number. Excuse me. The more advanced players will help others improve, just like in any other sport. They try to group the advanced players with the less advanced players so that everyone can grow together. And they compete in small competitions. They don't compete in large competitions. It's typically within their program. And there's a balance of athlete and partner numbers. Ideally, it's going to be a 1-to-1 ratio. Um, and that goes for most unified sports events. And then the competitive model is where they compete just like in any other sport. Everyone understands the rules well. They have a high level of skill. The players are all at similar levels. They are approaching that um, very high level of skill like you would see in any sort of other gen ed sports. The players are all at similar levels. There's a balance of athlete and partner numbers. Again, it's going to be a 1-to-1 ratio. The players are also similar in age in the competitive model, unlike the recreational model. And players compete in large competitions. It'll look pretty much just like your local track meet. It won't be any different. I know that in my hometown, the Special Olympics, they would have large scale competitions like track. There's one kid named Alfie. He's extremely enthusiastic. He's a lovely kid, and he was a very, very skilled runner. And he would have competed in a more competitive model. So, and before I forget to mention it, I was thinking about why I am so enthusiastic about unified sports. Of course, the events are a lot of fun and I really enjoy being a part of it, but I thought that there must be some sort of um, different intrinsic motivation. And I thought it would be really good to mention that my entire life, m my aunt with an intellectual disability, I never thought of her as that until a year or two ago. Someone in my family mentioned it, and I thought, huh, my aunt doesn't have an intellectual disability, but it's not something that I ever had to think of. I only ever thought of her as my loving aunt, and she was a softball player. She felt really achieved from that. I thought of her as my loving aunt, a softball player. She was absolutely fantastic. She cares more about what I'm doing than a majority of my family. So she is just a wonderful person, and I never ever thought of her um, for her disabilities. I only ever saw the abilities that she had. And if you look at this picture on the right, this young man right here, he's very sweet. I saw him a few months ago because I went to the group home of my girlfriend's uncle. He's a very sweet man. And this young man, he kept walking up to me, he kept giving me fist bumps. He wanted to show me his room, so I saw his room and everything. Me and my girlfriend, we played guitar and we sang for her uncle because he did not feel well at all and he was freestyling and it was really sweet. and he has a prosthetic leg, but he competed in Special Olympics and all kinds of things. And ever since I met him, he loves talking to me about that. He loves telling me that he could kick my butt in bowling and all that. And um, he's just an absolutely lovely person. So, what are some benefits of unified sports? It provides understanding of the importance of inclusion through experience. A lot of people do not have experiences like me, where, I grew up with my aunt, and so I don't look at people with intellectual disabilities differently. I see them as people. A lot of people have a fear of them, or they just don't truly understand them, and that is our goal of the unified sports. Social constructivism, that is where a lot of the growth takes place in these events, essentially through understanding and experience. Sorry, Mike, if you can hear my cat, he's screaming out there. But through these experiences, the peer and the athlete, they will learn together, and they create more content knowledge, and they create an identity for themselves by having these opportunities. Um, it challenges the social constructions of disability. Like I said, a lot of people will see these athletes and they don't think of them as being, um, I'm not sure how you would say it because I don't think that way, but I see these people as having a lot of ability. And I'm gonna show in a video pretty soon. Some of these kids can serve a volleyball better than me. They can bump a volleyball better than me, so they've got me beat. It creates empathy and understanding through common goals. Learning is co-constructed in unified sports. Like I said, um, the peers are going to learn a lot. The athletes are going to learn a lot. They're typically in the same environment, learning from the same people. It's a great experience for athletes and partners to learn from new experiences. University students who participate will have authentic
Good
experiences that create understanding.
report. Oh, that's not okay.
Um, so a lot of these university students who participate in these, they might not have had these experiences before, and so they can take what they learn and they can take it to their teaching. I had my adapted physical education class, and I learned a lot from that, but it's just different doing these unified sports events. It's a lot more personal, and it's out of your own passion. It's not required whatsoever. And so I think it really, um, it's just a different experience that'll give you a better idea of these athletes. More benefits of unified sports. The athletes can develop a passion for sport competition, which I think um, is one of the greatest benefits of this, because a lot of these athletes would have never had the opportunity to compete in a sport competition like this, but now they have the opportunity to compete against people that they've never even met before. And like many of us, we might have not felt the longing for competition until we actually competed. And so some of these athletes will go on to want to compete for their lifetime. The opportunity to build social skills. As I said, a lot of them will be in the same environment all the time, and being surrounded by people who genuinely care and want to have a social experience with them that will teach them good behaviors, and they can just build social skills by interacting with new people. Athletes may build a stronger desire for physical fitness. That is what we want as physical educators. We want these athletes to have a desire for physical fitness so that they can hopefully have lifelong fitness. And like my girlfriend's uncle that I mentioned, he has developed this desire for physical fitness through Special Olympics and all that, and he's coming up on 60 years old, and he still wants to be as physically fit as he can because of his sports experience and nothing else. It allows athletes and partners to be themselves in a social environment. A lot of us don't feel like we can be ourselves until we are in a safe environment. Um, and so these athletes, they don't need to hide anything. They can be as enthusiastic as they want. Like one of my favorite events is the dance. We do dance at the Unified Sports Festival, which I'll mention soon. And I used to be one of those people who I thought, man, dance, that's gross. I don't want to dance. But when you start dancing in that social environment, it's just a lot of fun and there's no negativity attached to it. Athletes have a chance to be active in a new environment. I went over that a few times, so I don't think I need to elaborate on that. One of the articles that I was reading that my professor shared with me, this woman gave this quote in it, and I thought it was a fantastic quote to share. Pairing disability with personal experiences provides access to the insider's point of view and gives meaning to the way students with disabilities experience their bodies. I think that is really one of the main things that we are trying to achieve through these events. Hmm. Excuse me. Hmm. So, the WIU Unified Sports Club, I wanted to mention that we are supported by, but not currently sanctioned by Special Olympics because they changed the rules up on us. We are working on becoming sanctioned again by them. But they are 100% supporting and they know exactly what we're doing. Our athletes and caretakers are able to vote on what we do or provide input. This is something that I hope that more programs will do, and I think it is very unique to our program. Last semester, we decided that we wanted to have um, adult athletes and student athletes in the community to actually join in on our meetings where we decide what we are going to do, and they can vote, and their caretakers and them can provide input on what they want to happen. We did have an adult representative last semester, and I was in charge of intramurals and I asked him what he wanted to do, and he said that he thought that disc golf would be a lot of fun. He said that volleyball would be a lot of fun, so we were planning what we do based off of that. And it gives them a sense of importance. I know he really loved to do that, so um, I think that is a great thing to implement into your program. WIU is a unified champion school as of 2024. We provide athletes and local communities with the opportunity to compete in team sports, professional development for educators, social workers, and others. Um, I think it is essential that educators and social workers and everyone else who's going to work all the time with individuals with intellectual disabilities, I think it's important that you get an authentic experience before you get out onto the work site because you might hear about how to deal with these things in class all the time, but you don't have the opportunity to apply your skills. You don't have the opportunity to really see how it's going to go. You might think everything is going to go perfect, but you have to be ready to adapt to everything. What we say in our adapted PE courses, we adapt on the fly. We've had it on our shirts and everything, and that's exactly what you have to do. You have to learn how to adapt on the fly. During the sports festival, we have team sports like badminton and all those things, and some students are comfortable with that, especially with the badminton. For some reason, a lot of students did not want to do it. So we said, okay, well then you can come over here and you can play cornhole. And so they would go with their partners and they would play cornhole and they would be comfortable and they wouldn't um, need to not be active, but they were comfortable with that. Students work with the community and see the lasting impact of unified sports. Our club goes beyond just our unified sports events. Um, we just receive funds. We have $500 a semester. So the main thing that I want to do is I want to take that money and I want to generate more money with it and take all the profit and donate it to local Special Olympics. And then students will be able to see that lasting impact. So that I'm very excited for that. Unified intramural sports at WIU. I will mention this briefly because I think most of us are more focused on working with students. But at WIU, we have unified intramural sports, which is for adults in the community as opposed to students. Adults with intellectual disabilities partner with WIU students for team sports or leisure. Usually it's a one-on-one ratio. It focuses on inclusion, socialization, and physical activity. The main parts are the socialization and physical activity. Um, Typically, I think it would be a leisure sport. We want them to walk around with their peer and socialize and really just have that social experience because a lot of these adults are living in group homes and they love to have new social experiences, and we all can learn a lot from that. And just to get them active for a little bit, um, like I said, a lot of them live in these group homes. They don't really see many people besides their family and those who they live with, and they don't have a lot of opportunities to be physically active. And athletes will work at their own pace, and the rules are flexible. I believe that the next slide is going to be a video, and it shows that the rules are flexible. So if you watch this video real quick, uh, this server, he is an athlete, and then this is the guy who ends up bumping the ball. He's also an athlete, and I'll show the video real quick before I explain. I think that this is a great example of how the rules are flexible because you see they are doing it with a normal volleyball, with a normal net, but they're allowing it to bounce. And how this progression went was they started with just a beach ball and no net. And then they said, okay, we can do this with a beach ball and a net. And so they did that. And then they decided to bring out a normal volleyball. And there was no two-touch rule. They were bouncing it off the ground as you see in this video. And then they ended up progressing to just normally playing volleyball. They were bumping it up into the air and it wasn't touching, no one was doing two-touch rule and everything, so they were playing volleyball with normal rules. So that was a very cool progression to see. So the Unified Sports Festival, this is our main event. Local schools are bringing their unified physical education class, their Special Olympics team, or their education students to compete in team sports against each other. But there's also leisure activities like dance, cornhole, and creative movement. As I mentioned before, dance is my favorite. A lot of the kids will go in there and they'll say, "Ew, I don't like dance," and then they start dancing, and every single one of them are smiling. They absolutely love it. And Donald Laney, who does it, at the end he'll do this creative movement thing, and so he'll say spell your name with your elbow, and then they spell their name with their elbow, and then he'll say spell your name with your foot, and just things like that, and then he'll say you just created your own dance. Everyone can create their own dance. Everyone um, can dance. Athletes come with their peer buddies if they have established them in their school. That would be for the unified physical education class, and that is ideal, but typically only about half or less of the schools will actually bring their peer buddies. So if we have enough university students volunteer, then we will have them be peer buddies. Typically, we do not get that many volunteers, but when it is needed, we have them work one-on-one as peer buddies. We'll have referees, we'll have photographers, we'll have general helpers, we'll have greeters, and we have all kinds of different roles for all kinds of different people so that anyone who wants to volunteer, they can find a place and they can volunteer, and it creates the most authentic experience possible with the referees and everything so that it feels just like a real sports event. There's a festival for middle school students and for high school students. This semester will be our first middle school one. In the past, it's been every spring, it'll be high school students, and sometimes there's some middle school students who come, but we're going to make it separate so that we can have two festivals a year, and I think that will be great. And awards are given at the end, and the students and the peers both, they love it. We do awards like most supportive peer buddy and most competitive athlete so that everyone has the opportunity to get an award. We also have like the most supportive athlete as well, things like that, so that they have something to take home and to show their parents. And then here's another video. This is of the dance. You can see me right here. And they do a pretty good job. That happens every time. They do a good job of staying on rhythm. They do a good job at all of that. And then this kid, I like this video because he really manipulates the ball and he kind of breaks her ankles right there, and I thought that was a great video. So preparation for the Unified Sports Festival. Of course, I cannot put every step in here, so if you are interested in having your own unified sports festival, then please reach out to me and let me know so that I can give you all the resources that we have. You can speak to me, you can message me back and forth, whatever, to make sure that you can make that happen. So first, you recruit peer buddies and volunteers. Physical education is a good one. Education students, RPTH students, athletes are a big one. Athletes on campus love to volunteer. Social workers, I think a lot of them need volunteering time, so this is a good opportunity for them. And sports management, there's plenty of others like frats. Frats um actually do like to do a lot of these things. Creating flyers to share digitally and physically on campus is important because it's really tough to get the word out. You want to have the most volunteers possible. Last year, we only had a few volunteers because we didn't have a recruitment officer, and so we were trying our best, but it ended up working out pretty well, actually. This is a picture from this year, I believe, and I was alone with a group of both middle school and high school students from a local school. I was really nervous about it, but it actually ended up going extremely well. You want to communicate with local Special Olympics programs to support them and so that they support you, and you can learn a lot from them. You can just do a lot with that. It's very important to have that connection. And collaborating with educators who can provide unique activities. Like I mentioned, Donald Laney, he is a dance instructor here at WIU, and he provides um, the dancing, as you see pictured here. He's this guy in the middle, and he also does the creative movement at the end. And the creative movement is really cool. I think that's something that I'm going to use in the future in my classroom. The thing that I mentioned where they draw their name with their elbow and they do all that. And the kids, you can really tell that they feel accomplished. They think, wow, I really did just make my own dance and I didn't even know it. Um, it teaches them that their body can be a tool to create things, to create art. Preparation for the Unified Sports Festival. So you want to make sure that you reserve a venue for your event that is able to accommodate everybody, whether that is peers or athletes. Sometimes there'll be things that you don't really think of, you won't expect. Of course, you want to make sure that it's wheelchair accessible, but then we've had things that I would never think of. Like there's a student who he's so afraid of heights that he can't even walk up a single step. And so we had to make sure that there was a ground floor door that he could go around to and get into the venue. Otherwise, he would have not been able to attend. And so you want to make sure that you accommodate for everything. And you want to provide schools with information on your event and a Google form to fill out how many students they bring, the accommodations that will need to be made, how many staff they'll bring, and if students have peer buddies. And you want to make sure that you keep pushing that school's buttons because a lot of these schools will not reply, but if you push their buttons, they will end up replying and they will end up coming. Continual update and contact local schools. It's important to have that strong relationship to make sure that you can keep these events going on because without that strong relationship, it's really hard to get schools. So you want people who want to come back every single year. And the students love to come back every single year too. A lot of the students will remember the event, they'll remember the people at the event, and they get super excited to come. You want to reserve equipment for the event ahead of time that might seem kind of obvious, but I feel like a lot of people wait until last minute, and you want to make sure that you actually have everything. We thought that we had a lot of things that we didn't really have, so you can get help from um your rec center. If you have a rec center, that's where we do it. We try to get equipment from them. We get equipment from our PE department, and we even have gotten like cornhole. I don't know what you would call it honestly, but the where you actually throw it into for cornhole, we got those from local frats. So there's a lot of people who will be willing to help you. And you want to make sure that you create a schedule for bathroom breaks, activities, lunch, and water breaks. That's really important. 2 years ago, we had our lunch a little too late, and there was a girl from my hometown who passed out, and we thought that there was something serious going on. Thankfully, it wasn't very serious. She just needed to eat. So we have it properly scheduled so that it's early in the day. So make sure that you have water breaks as often as possible and that the lunch is pretty early. We do it after um, 2 to 3 activities to make sure that there's no problems there. During the event, you want to make sure that you identify the water stations and first aid kits. If there's not water fountains, make sure to bring water. And the first aid kits is essential. Like I said, we had that event, we didn't know what was happening. And so we had those first aid kits on hand, thankfully. And you want to ensure the safety of all participants, of course. Manage the positions of the volunteers. A lot of people, they'll start going everywhere. They don't know what to do. So you want to make sure that you're telling people exactly what they should do. Otherwise, they won't know what to do. They might just walk away. And make changes during the event as needed to guarantee athlete success. Like I said, with the badminton, a lot of students were not comfortable doing that. And so we made the option of them to play cornhole on the side, so they would still be near everybody and they would still be active, but that guarantees their success, that they stay active and they feel accomplished and they don't feel left out at all. They feel comfortable. Post-event duties. You want to make sure that you advertise the event to local and campus media. We've had several local news uh, organizations post um, articles about what we're doing. There was one talking about the last festival and how we are a unified champion school and all kinds of nice things. So that just helps get the word out and make sure that the goal of these events does not stop when the events end. It continues and it might inspire some other places to do things like this. I'm not 100% sure, but I believe one of the main motivators for a local school here having a unified sports program was these events. And so um, you want to make sure that you get the word out there as much as possible. You never know who it's going to impact. You want to provide professional development for unified leaders if it's possible. That could be absolutely anything. They could be talking to their local Special Olympics people who are experts. They know what they're talking about. Or, as I mentioned, that girl who passed out. When she passed out, everyone was standing around. They didn't do anything. I had just walked in the room. I didn't know what was going on. Everyone just froze. And so, if we had that professional development, if we have them prepared to ensure the safety of our participants, maybe that would not have happened. And so, our professor had to step in. He had to do something because he was like, why is no one doing anything? You want to make sure that you create more opportunities to keep the athletes in your community active. Um, like we do the intramural sports, we do the sports festival. The more that you can expand these programs, the better. Um, Raising funds to improve unified events. We have not used any funds whatsoever, but this semester we are getting $500. And so I'm going to try to raise more funds out of that to improve unified events. You might buy more equipment to accommodate for these students if you don't have a lot at your university. Um, and these funds can improve your physical education programs, not just the event. Excuse me, the events themselves. You want to make sure that you keep up on Special Olympics training and rules. Like I mentioned before, we are not currently sanctioned by Special Olympics, so we need to make sure that we keep up on that training, keep up on the rules. Um, in some ways, it's a good thing. In some ways, it's a bad thing to not be officially sanctioned by them, but you want to at least have a good connection with them and make sure that they know what you are doing. And so that is the sort of the end of my presentation. Like I said before, if you're interested in setting up unified sports events, or if you want to have a connection, maybe improve your own events, whatever, please contact me. I will make sure that this slideshow gets out to everyone here. My email is there. There's a link to our Discord server for future professionals. If you are a future professional, I would strongly encourage that you join that. It's going to be for not just casual conversation, but meaningful discussion too. There's it's separated into different channels. We'll have the casual conversation where you can talk about whatever you want. We have one for PE, we have one for kinesiology, we have one for whatever. So if you need help with something or if you want to know something, um, you can probably ask someone there and they'll have answers to the questions. There will be not only important future professionals there, but there are also professionals who would really love to help, who know what they're talking about. And making connections, I think, is one of the number one things that you can do. That is why I'm talking right now, is because I made connections with people in IAPERD and Shape America and stuff like that. And it's a lot of fun on top of just being super valuable. And we also have a link to our Instagram page for future professionals. That'll kind of act as a bulletin board. So if you are in the Midwest District, I would also recommend doing that. If I notice any sort of important event that I think would be fantastic for future professionals to attend, I will post it on there. I'll put it in our Discord server. And in the right corner, you can see there's a little QR code for it. So if you want to just scan that real quick and follow it, I'm sure it'll help you in some way. But yeah, anyone is welcome to our Discord in physical education, health, kinesiology, things related to that. So please feel free to share this link with people that you know who are young professionals, want to be an advisor for future professionals, or if you are a future professional, please join our Discord. Please share that. And I would love to connect with all of you. Um, you don't have to just email me. You can call me. Maybe we can meet in person if you're close enough. Anything like that. I would love to collaborate with you and help you out the most that I can. Here's my works cited. It's really ugly. I didn't fix it. So I'm sorry for that. But these are some of the resources that I used. A lot of it just came from my noggin. It's just information from my own experiences. This is a really useful link, the Special Olympics link, because it actually leads to several other resources, and that can answer a lot of questions that you have. And then now is the time for open discussion. I want to know, what are your thoughts about it? What kind of experiences do you have with unified sports? I'm sure a lot of you have more experience than me, and I'd really like to hear it. I think it'd be helpful for us all. And if you have any questions for me, if you put in the chat during my presentation, I'll answer that now. And if you have any now, just feel free to ask. So that is my presentation. Thank you very much. I'm going to stop sharing my screen and I'll start answering questions.
Outstanding.
Yeah, I can go back to the QR code slide real quick. Um, that's no problem. And as I said, if you didn't sign up through the Google form, put your email in the chat and I'll make sure that I send the slides to you so that you have that available. You have my contact and everything. Give me one moment.
And while you're doing that, Ashton, I will also mention for those that are future professionals joining us today, Ashton will be along with that whole future professional advisory group, and Taylor and Rhonda will be sending information out very soon um, in a recruitment process to um, have future professionals apply for the president-elect position or role with Midwest District. It'll give you an opportunity to work with those three advisors along with Ashton, and then ultimately take on the responsibilities that Ashton is currently under. And so you have an opportunity to gain more access and work with Shape leadership.
Hey, Ashton, can you set the presentation as anyone with the link can view?
Um,
It's right
oh
now
yeah, yeah.
it's not set as anyone with the link can view.
Okay. Yeah,
And
I'll
then
do
I'll
that.
put the link in the chat so everybody can just click the link if they want to.
Ashton, that was extremely informative. I really appreciated that session. Very, very helpful.
I changed it so that everyone with the link can view it. Thank you very much. I know I sometimes I start speaking really fast. Sometimes I kind of get off topic. Um, that's just what I do. I'm always doing that. So
That was
I
very
hope that you did learn something from it. Thank you very much.
Hey, Ashton.
Hi.
Hey, thanks so much for the presentation. I'm curious of, and I can't remember at the beginning of the slides, but is there any sort of connection to your adapted class in relation to this event, or is it purely volunteer?
It is purely volunteer work. It is not connected um whatsoever. It's separate. We have that 3 credit course that we are required to have. And then this was something that was started by my professor, Dr. Gobai. He's been doing it for 5 or 6 years or so, and I've been a part of it. But then last year he wanted to change it to being student led, and so I was one of the people who put that together. And just to preserve it so when Dr. Gobai isn't at the university and hopefully it can have more longevity. So yeah, it is completely student led now. It is completely volunteer work. So yeah, but it does count as I think it's a professional service and something else like that. So that is an incentive for some students to do that.
Yeah, for sure. Thanks so much.
Yeah, thank you.
Hey, Ashton. It sounds like you've been part of your unified club at the college level, like kind of since the start of it or early days. Is that right?
Yeah.
Can you speak to like how did you all go about, well, maybe both. What were really effective ways to engaging your peers or other partners, like from maybe your PEEP program or a special education program are usually a good fit too, or anybody really. But to engaging in like um, get roping them in, if you will, getting more partners, and then
Mhm.
also where a lot of your athletes, students who are on campus who receive support, and or are they community friends, or can you talk a little bit about that?
So, um, for roping in students, we've tried a lot of things. We didn't have a recruitment officer, and I kind of took up that role last semester for the most part because I noticed that we weren't doing much for that, and it's just the kind of person I am. I wanted to make sure that we got recruitment. I've tried all kinds of things. I've tried flyers, I've tried emails, all that. But the thing that seems to work the best is like going to table fairs and things like that. One-on-one interactions is the best way that you can hook people. Um, Everything else doesn't really seem to work well. But our athletes come from, um, I don't know if Mosaic is like a thing that is all around or if that's a local thing, but it's like a group home and stuff, and we communicate with people in the park rec department, and we communicate with just different group homes and people involved with the Special Olympics to recruit adult athletes. And then student athletes, we will simply just reach out to local schools. A PE teacher that we know there typically is who we reach out to. And we'll be like, hey, would you be able to bring your Special Olympics? Would you be able to bring your PE class? Anything like that. And usually we don't really get much of a response. But like I said, we keep nudging them, we keep trying to get them to respond, and eventually we do get a response. So basically, if someone who's involved went to a school, will be like, "Hey, could you please contact your school that you used to go to?" They'll do that, and then usually we'll at least get about 4 schools that are sports festival, which is about ideal because if it got to be more than 5 or so, then it would be pretty chaotic and hard to manage. Um, so yeah, I think that the best way to get people is just to talk one-on-one with them and have their professors talking to them too. That's another good way. Um, I would speak in front of all my education classes and my PE classes. I would say, "Hey, come to these events." And a lot of people, they would be like, "Yeah, I'll go," and then they don't actually go. But if you get people to sign something, if you get them to sign up, and you have like a one-on-one conversation with them, that's the way to go for sure.
Yeah, thanks. I would second that, like tabling or having a student go like yourself going to talk in classes rather than it coming from a professor, or maybe in addition to it coming from a
Hmm.
professor because we can kind of be noise sometimes. But um, what was I going to say? Oh, one thing that I don't know if maybe you can agree to this too, or if it's helpful for folks on the call that I have found that gets more people to sign up to is like we always say that when you quote unquote sign up just by putting your name and your email, it doesn't mean that you have to go to everything. You know, it's like you're not committing. Of course, if you're playing a sport, you want to show up for those practices and games, but otherwise, it's like You want to come to Unified Halloween or not? No big deal. This just means you'll get the email communication and it kind of lowers the barrier to entry. So I don't know if you found that too, but
Yeah, that's what I do too. Actually, I have a clipboard right here, and I have people sign up and put their name and email and everything. And I said, a lot of people were like, I don't know if I want to sign up. And then I would tell them it's not a big time commitment. You don't need to go to our meetings. If you want to volunteer, if you just want to be at some of the meetings. If you want to go to one of our events, if you have an hour of your time to give, whatever, then you can come. And some people would be like, oh, okay, yeah, I'll sign. And another thing is the fact that it says sports is a big problem because people walk by. Like I had the first two people who signed, they walked by, they looked at it and they said, "Oh, sports, I don't know about that. I can't play sports." And I said, "You don't have to be good at sports to do this. You just have to be passionate about um, working with people with intellectual disabilities." And they said okay, and they signed it up. So somehow maybe making this clear that it's more about that than the sports aspect, maybe that would help people get involved. But
yeah,
I'm
for
not for
sure. We
sure.
mentioned that too, that like if sports isn't your jam, we do game nights or, just other sort of social events because yeah,
Mhm.
it's not everybody's thing. So
And I don't know if you guys like have people be in the role of like photographer and stuff, but that's one thing that
hmm
definitely helps those who are like,
yeah.
I don't know if I want to work one-on-one with them, or if they don't have a lot of experience working with these athletes, then they might not be very comfortable. Like, they might be scared they're too fragile for them to work directly with, and I can understand that. So we'll be like, well, then just be a photographer, do whatever to help us, and sometimes that works. So.
Ashton,
Good advice.
when you present these ideas to various classes that you're in, do you bring up the point that this is great to put on a resume? Because that seems like, something that a lot of kids kind of perk up to when they think about building their resume.
hmm Yeah, that is definitely something that I've mentioned several times, and a lot of my professors, when I say that, they'll be like, they'll interject and they'll be like, "Yes, this is fantastic. Put it on a resume because it is completely volunteer. It's out of your own passion, so it definitely looks very good on a resume, and it's a unique experience for sure. Especially for educators and people like that. It's pretty much essential, I think. It prepares you a lot more when you're doing these things. And before I forget, I just randomly thought of this. Our intramural sports happens a little more than our sports festival. It is more of an authentic, unified sports experience because it happens 2 days of a weekend every semester for 3 different weekends. So they really get to know their peers very well and they actually become friends. And so I think that's a very good way to do it. It seems to work out extremely well. And I forgot to mention that, so I just thought that's a good thing to mention.
Ashton, as a reviewer of a lot of resumes over the years, that would stick out to me. One, something I'm not super familiar with, so it might be a really great, engaging question to ask someone in a resume. Like, can you tell me about this? And two, I've known you for a while now, and your passion really shows through on this. You can tell you've given a lot of thought to this, and you can tell that you are very engaged with it. And as a retired professional now, I really appreciate that. It's very good to see that young people are coming up with ideas of ways to get involved and stay involved, and I really appreciate that. So thank you so much for sharing all of that with us.
Thank you, Gil. That makes me feel good, and that's something that I can tell people that I'm trying to um, hook into our program. So I will say that. Thank you very much.
Any other thoughts or questions you'd like to share
Quick
with
question.
Ashton? Rhonda?
Hey, Ashton. Um, I'm not real familiar with unified sports and I've never been involved in it.
Mhm.
So I did notice that you have said students with intellectual disabilities. Is this not involve students with physical disabilities?
There are students with physical disabilities. Most of them are intellectually disabled in some way. Um, Probably 99% of them. But that makes me think of something. I was the Scholastic Bowl captain um, for varsity and junior varsity. And when I was the varsity Scholastic Bowl captain, there was a kid a grade behind me, and he was in an electric wheelchair and all kinds of things. And he actually participates in these unified events. Um, and he was on Scholastic Bowl, and he was absolutely fantastic. He could whoop us when it comes to knowledge on he was very passionate about like operas and musicals and stuff like that. If there was a question about it, he would typically get it, and he had just learned how to do Scholastic Bowls. So I'm not sure if he's technically intellectually disabled or not, but he is definitely physically disabled. But he really, really enjoyed these events. But like I said, he did fantastic in that academic sport, so I'm not for sure if he is or not, but either way, it was great to see him in these events, and that was a cool experience in Scholastic Bowl because I never saw any other person with a very, I guess, obvious physical disability competing in these competitions, and he would show up, and a lot of the people, on the other teams, they'd be like, wow, this kid really knows his stuff. Like, there's some random performance of the timeout from the 1600s, and he's like, I got it. I know that really fast. So that was very cool. That was a good experience.
Nicely done. Well, I want to thank everybody for joining us. Ashton, again, I applaud you. What a wonderful experience this morning. And I hope all of you have a great rest of your weekend. Enjoy the weather, the fall weather that I think most of us are getting right now. And again, if you have any questions, please feel free to reach out to Ashton. He shared many different ways that you can get in touch with him. Thank you very much, everyone. Have a good day.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.